Obi-Wan Kenobi, episode 5, the penultimate episode is here, and we're going to do our review and reaction right now. What's up, everybody? This is Jersey Com Crew. Hope you're having a fantastic day, and obviously this is your spoiler warning. We're going to talk details about the episode, plot points, characterizations, and all of that. Now, Chris, before we get into the nitty-gritty of the show, I wanted to tell you something, and I watched this episode this morning. I watched it 1.5 times because I was trying to watch it twice. I didn't have enough time to watch it twice.
I thank you for your honesty.
Yep. The stuff with Vader is cool, and I want to talk about that later. But overall, This episode was terrible. I think the show, I felt like this was supposed to be the big payoff for everything. I felt the whole time this is just like old classic stuff with Star Wars that I hated. The terrible choreography with fight scenes. You have 1,000 stormtroopers standing in front of Obi-Wan about to shoot, and everybody misses. There's only one casualty on the resistance side. I'm like, all right, I can't get over these things anymore. And the fact that like Obi-Wan is talking to Reva, I love Reva's story. I felt like if we would have dropped Leia 3 episodes ago when I wanted her to be dropped, take all that time, it focuses on Reva, and how like, oh, she was a youngling. Oh, Obi-Wan connects with the Force, and he's questioning why, and focuses more as an Obi-Wan story instead of like a Star Wars prequel. Like, oh, we have to force feed Leia into this. It just felt like the Reva stuff was rushed. It was great. I love the connection with Obi-Wan, with Anakin, the betrayal, the fight scene. I love everything with her. I felt like that story needed to be nurtured more, and I think Star Wars, this is my hot take, was afraid to nurture that because they're like, we have to put more Leia in here. The Leia fixing the stuff in the crawl space, I couldn't care less. It was a waste of the whole Leia stuff after the first couple episodes. To me, still feels like a waste. I'm done with her. We had our time with her. I like it. I would have taken all that time to learn more about this new character. Show me why this youngling went and tried to infiltrate Lord Vader, and that's why she's so filled with rage. That's why she wants to do all this, to set this trap. And maybe she works with Obi-Wan instead of Obi-Wan runs to the door, tries to talk to her, runs back inside. They wait a little bit. Her friend dies. He runs back out. He's like, oh, I'm going to do this again. And I'm going to run back inside. Okay, now come and chase me. Ha, ha, ha. It was just asinine is my take from this episode. Sorry. It was a very hot take.
I think you're focused on definitely issues of the show. And we've been talking about this since episode 2, the running stuff, the chase scenes. I'm thinking a part of this problem is because they're in that dome and there's only so much they could run towards. But I agree with that part. I agree the stormtrooper scenes, I'm like, they're literally 3 feet in front of each other, just shooting and missing. That's a problem. Terrible. But I think the overall issue, which to me, in my personal view, I think this is the best episode by far, because we have actual plot points, the actual Reva story, the connection of actual Star Wars characters that we've been waiting. The complaints before were, it's too much Reva, it's not enough Obi-Wan. Well, now we got the Obi-Wan Vader connection. We had the storylines connecting. I thought that was way better done than a lot of the stuff they did before, especially episode 2, which I see as a very bad episode. But I think the real crux of this is the question of how did Reva survive twice? I don't understand how Reva gets stabbed by Anakin in Order 66 in the flashback. We know now, all that stuff's connected, right? There was a small theory going around that, yes, Reva is actually trying to kill Vader or is actually good, and she's overcompensating for trying to make sure she's undercover.
Yeah.
Now we see that come to fruition, and we see the act of, Anakin stabs her once. As a kid, I have no idea how she survived that, because the same thing happened to Qui-Gon Jinn, and he is dead, and he's a full trained Jedi Master. And then again with which I think overwhelming power of Darth Vader in the show, which is fantastic to see, but is toying with her like we've seen before, right?
Yeah.
Stabs her again and she's still alive. So that to me was the biggest drawback that I guess would say takes you out of the episode a little bit.
For me, it was oddly enough, it's believable that she survived as a kid, because my mind goes to immediately, hear me out, not her on her own. I'm thinking somebody came and saved her, right? And if we've talked about this before, Mace Windu's secretly alive and he took younglings and helped retrain them and make them alive and stuff like that, cool. If that stuff in the past we haven't seen yet, and they could put some science mumbo jumbo in there, and that's how she got away. Her now getting stabbed and still being alive, I don't know how. Maybe it's her dying moment and then she's going to be able to do something. We have one episode left to see how that happens. So until the next episode, I don't think that fact is going to hit me until I see how she gets out of it. All the points that you made of why this episode was good, I can't disagree with. These had great scenes and moments, like Reva fighting Vader. The beginning of the fight was great with him doing the Force stuff, and then him moving was obviously it's clunky because he's robotic, right? You have to have that mindset. So I was like, all right, that fits Vader. He felt very powerful. Him using the Force to pull down the ship, and it was a decoy ship. Brilliant. Loved all of that stuff. But to continue on with that Reva, the scene right after she's alive, right? And she's holding her abdomen, and she sees the walkie-talkie, like, oh, does he know about the boy? Like, on Tatooine, and it pans to Luke. I'm like, why? Why do we have to keep bringing it back to them? Like, I understand they're a key part of it, but they're not supposed to be a focus until much later. Like, you didn't need, for me, you didn't need to have that scene. This just points to, okay, I guess we're going to get this season 2 of Obi-Wan where Reva's going to try to hunt down Luke and Obi-Wan has to stop it. And now people are going to know about Luke Skywalker. It seems like they're undoing what they've already done.
But they're not. Like, this episode solidified that they aren't retconning things in a lot of ways. You're in a hypothetical right now, right? Like, we don't know if Reva's going to go attack Luke or now we don't know if she's going to go protect him, right? Like, she knows about it. Vader just attacked her. I doubt she's going to go there in the sense of, I need to get this kid to make favor with Vader. Like, if Vader's going to welcome her with open arms after that. Like, that's a hypothetical. Like, the part of we don't know is because there's one episode left. But as far as retconning, I don't think they've retconned anything. I think that's why another reason this episode's so good. We see the Grand Inquisitor, the real Grand Inquisitor, come back, showing what Vader had in the background the whole time. He doesn't care about Reva. He doesn't care about the Grand Inquisitor anyway. He doesn't care about any of them. He doesn't want any of them. He's just using them to get what he wants, which is Obi-Wan Kenobi. And the end, we've talked about the intricacies of episode 4 and how that implicates, they haven't retconned anything. And part of it is we all don't fully know what happens in this 20-year period, 19-year period.
True.
Right? They are being filled in by this show, Mandalorian, a bunch of other things, a bunch of different scenes. What we have in our head is never going to be what happens. And I think that's a part of it. Oh, we don't know about Luke and Leia. We're not supposed to know about them. They're in hiding. Yeah, absolutely. But how, like, again, those questions that we had about Leia in the beginning, right? Why did she call Obi-Wan in episode 4? She could have called anybody. Yeah. And she calls this old guy? Why? Now we know why. I don't think Leia helped nor hindered this episode. I do understand what you're saying about we didn't really need her in this and fixing the little spot. Of course, it's a place where only she can fit. I thought her interaction with Kumail was hilarious. I love him and just his lines of like, oh, I could probably get some money out of these people. Hilarious.
Yeah.
But I don't necessarily think it hindered it. The Lola thing was a very quick, easy fix. I think the biggest issues they have right now is explaining how a character like Reva survived, not only as a child, but as an adult twice in kind of the similar fashion. Are they going to, show the kind of metal, like mechanic stuff? And obviously the issue they clearly have with chase scenes, running, positioning, that stuff. I believe, like, I know you as a comic fan with art. You get drawn in by art, positioning, levels of things. If you don't like an artist in comics, Rob, you are out of it completely.
100%.
And I think that here, like, no matter how good the writing is, you're just like, I can't do it. I think that's part of it here. Not saying it's your whole take, but I'm saying I think a part of it here is that really bad, like, stormtroopers. There's like 1,000 of them, and they're just shooting nothing, and they're 4 feet away from each other. I totally understand how that would, especially you, who's very visual, would take you out of the entire episode.
Even if not even just focusing on the story plot points of this stuff, the whole back and forth with Reva, it was so clunky and awkward the way they told that story. And like you said, you want to know how she survived as a kid. What's her path growing up? If they would have taken out all that fluff with the Leia, because I feel like the Leia's only in this, and like I know that it's Leia because she's of Luke and Leia, and maybe they just want Obi-Wan to invade the Inquisitor's fortress and then get out, and they wanted that shot there. Cool, fantastic. But after that, all that time that we take investing into this young little character of Leia, if we took that and put it towards Reva's story, we learn her backstory, we see how she got here, maybe she got help, all this other stuff to fill these plots in. more interactions with her and Obi-Wan. Like, I still think like she should have met Obi-Wan and had maybe the beginning of this conversation after he got told that Anakin was alive, like right on the desert planet. They should have met up, and then he's like, "Oh my God, like this is why." They could have like thread that needle a little bit better and made it more of a seamless transition instead of he goes through. He's like, "How do you know it's Anakin? I'm a bad like she's like, I'm a good guy now. Like I want to kill him." I'm like it was such a quick heel turn, and there was no build up to that. It was just so awkward, and that's why it was really upsetting.
But I don't think she's a good guy. I think it's partially is.
If you're not like, with Vader, you're a good guy.
No, it's not true. I don't think it is at all. We've had Asajj Ventress, who's a character that left Dooku, and she doesn't become a Jedi. She's a mercenary for hire. Mando technically isn't a good guy. He's also a mercenary, right? Like he was just taking people out for money. I think the whole point of the Star Wars universe is the gray areas and the good and the contrast, right? The dark tendencies and fighting against that, or do you lean into that? And the whole series is based on they're still good in Anakin, which I don't know how after those flashbacks at Order 66. Holy crap, that was dark.
That was good.
But I don't know I don't think Reva's a good guy. I think the issue here too is we have two new characters, and Leia is a new character in this. Young Leia is a very new character because we don't really know a lot about young Leia. And there's 6 episodes, and there's not enough time to focus on Reva and Leia at the same time to build that character out and tell the story that's based around Obi-Wan, which everyone wants to see Obi-Wan and Anakin and Vader and Obi-Wan and Vader and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So that, yes, definitely hindrances, definitely holdbacks. But as far as not retconning an entire series and giving us some of that stuff that we wanted, this episode did a very good job of that. Now, agree to disagree, that's fine. I respect your opinion. I hope you respect mine.
Of course.
I think this episode is a lot better than a lot of the other episodes we got, especially with pacing, especially with loose ends. I'm okay with showing Reva's backstory and that's it. Cool. She was a youngling and a Padawan. She literally watched Anakin come in and kill everybody and everything in that building and somehow survived. Obviously, that's a big question mark. But I think the good stuff for me personally, as a massive Star Wars fan, outweighed the bad in this specific episode. And this is why. I think seeing the parallels, not just the flashbacks, right? We've been calling for flashbacks forever in the show.
Yeah.
But the way they tied it into the present,
well done,
and the
fair.
way we showed that Obi-Wan is still the master and still taking Anakin Vader to school, right? The fake plane scene, and he has the decoy still, like, without having to say to, like, hey, you still have a lot to learn, kid, kind of thing, right? Like, I absolutely love that. I loved seeing the training sequence of Anakin just beating down on him the same way Luke beats down on Vader in Return of the Jedi, and a lot of parallels to their fight on Mustafar. I love that, trying to take out the cockiness of him, the trying to prove himself storyline. And he's still trying to prove himself as Vader, right? Whether it's to the Emperor, whether it's to himself, whether it's to Obi-Wan still. That connection point,
so
I thought in The Force was fantastic.
So for me, I feel like I'm still waiting for the show's payoff. Do you think you've got that show's payoff yet, or do you think it's still coming?
What do you define as payoff? That can be subjective altogether. Is the payoff them fighting again? Is the payoff an explanation? Like, what is your definition of payoff? Because I can't answer that.
I mean, I guess it's either another fight between them or some kind of resolution for this story arc.
I mean, a fight between them, I don't think is going to happen.
Yeah.
I think, personally, I don't think it's going to happen in episode 6. I think the last scene we saw where Obi-Wan gets away is the final, like, you still had something to learn, and I still beat you in this. And that's going to be the last time they see each other until A New Hope.
But, like, for me, the show, like, and, like, to use your words, like, why is this here? Why is the show here aside from nostalgia, right? The show is theoretically supposed to fill a purpose, a bubble here of something in Star Wars history, right? And if so far the only thing that we've seen here is we know why Leia called Obi-Wan now, as far as that I could tell. I mean, I understand, like, you know, we're seeing Obi-Wan's trauma with Vader, but, like, we don't really see Ben Kenobi again till he's older, and the stuff in the prequel trilogies already have done that. They already established that kind of mentor relationship and, like, the trauma that's there,
absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
So what else is, I guess my question is, like, what else are they going to be able to solve here or fill in this hole to make it continuing, because if it's the Inquisitor side of things, because we know that comes in Rebels, they haven't really touched upon that. There's no more of that. Maybe it's the introduction of Reva, the new character, and they're going to continue to further explore this timeline, and then this is just the start. But the way that we've been informed that it's been marketed, this is supposed to be a limited series just this year.
Yeah.
And I guess something big has to happen in just this episode here that fills that hole, if you will.
I think as far as Reva's side, they have a big issue with Reva because she's somehow survived. You're right, Rob. If they continue the series, all we know is it's ending in 6 episodes. How do you continue Reva's story?
Yeah.
And she's not around in Rebels. I mean, does she die in the next episode? Maybe. If not, that's a big loophole. And I think a lot of fans, including myself, would be very upset, even more so throughout this season and this series, if this show was a catalyst just to get a character like Reva off the ground, who's just another Inquisitor / ex-Jedi who's never going to kill Vader, right? Like, and the other side of it, right? Like, we know Vader doesn't die. We know Obi-Wan doesn't die. You know she's not going to take Vader out.
Correct.
That's a part of it. But if this show is a catalyst not to tell the main story of Obi-Wan and Vader kind of dealing with their issues in between 3 and 4, and more so to jumpstart another character line, that's a bit of a problem. But I would say what we need to see in episode 6, if it was me, and it was my decision.
Yeah. What do we need to see in episode 6?
If it was me, I need to see at least a good 10 minutes of just Vader. I don't necessarily need to fight. I need to see Vader dealing with failure.
Okay.
Right? Anakin was someone who never failed. He was someone who always got the job done. He was more skilled. He was stronger. He was faster. He was the chosen one, right? He's Neo in the Matrix. I need to see how Vader, in that depths of anger and power, deals with failure. He can't get Obi-Wan. He just dragged him across coals and burned him and beat the crap out of him. And Obi-Wan's been just running for his life the entire time. And he still can't get him. It's not even a challenge for him. And he's still not able to get him. I want to see Vader deal with that and how that jettisons him into that, you know, which already is a ruthless dictatorship.
Yeah.
And then on Obi-Wan's side, I need to see that turning point that begins to shift from the dark, depressed, kind of just beaten down man to letting some of that go and starting to that trajectory of the kind of hopeful, funny Alec Guinness, old Ben Kenobi. So that's what I think, whether it's the show ends with him finally connecting to Qui-Gon. He's only said his name almost every episode and has these dreams and flashbacks, avoiding the back-to-tank. But I think those things need to happen.
That also leads me to believe that maybe this is just a catalyst for a Vader show. Because if you're telling me this is so we can get a Darth Vader show and we can really see him go through all the torment and the stuff with Padme realizing that, the stuff with Lord Sidious, and like do some of the stuff with the comics, I think that'd be fantastic, and I would love that. But I do have to admit, I have been a little too harsh. Like you said, there's an episode left. I have to wait for that episode to see the full vision that they're doing here, because I don't know it yet. And only time is going to tell.
Yeah, I agree with that. As far as, you know, everyone, not just me and Rob, right? Everyone should wait till see how it ends. Whether you love this episode or not, I've already heard kind of both sides.
Yeah.
As, you know, researching and scripting and getting ready for our talks. But I get both sides too, Rob. I don't think what you said is outlandishly crazy. I think there are both sides to this, and it seems that this episode is very divisive with like real big Star Wars fans and like casual Star Wars fans, which may be some of it. But my big hope, Rob, I really hope that this show, and guys, you tell us too, I hope this isn't a catalyst for something else. I hope this is a contained story. I don't need every show to branch out into something else. But if you're making something just to make something else, the product's never going to be as good.
I agree 100%.
And I think that's a problem if that's the case. We will know in a week's time, guys. But I personally really like this episode compared to the other episodes that we've seen, which I think are really weak.
We want to hear your thoughts and theories down in the comments below. What did you think of Obi-Wan Kenobi episode 5? Are you excited for the next episode?
And guys, thank you so much for watching. Give us a thumbs up, like, really helps the channel out a lot. If you are new, subscribe, turn on notifications. You don't want to miss our final talk about Obi-Wan episode 6 when it drops next week. And if you missed anything, it's right here for you on the channel. And as always, I'm Chris Heller. That's Rob Moran. We're the Jersey Comic Crew, and we'll see you next time.